They're talking about nationwide events. All right, we're going to show you that today there's a lot going on. Of course, there is a map that we are going to talk about in just a bit. This is, again, something that a lot of folks are talking about, events that are possibly going to all coincide in just a few days from now, about 5 days from now. We are also going to talk about comments by the president that essentially talk about how there's most likely going to be soldiers everywhere. Of course, we already have on standby a battalion of Marines, 500 to 700 Marines possibly being deployed inside of our country. Now, 2,000 National Guard are already deployed, but again, this would be 500 to 700 Marines. This is our military being deployed inside our country lines, so inside of our borders. So we'll talk about that here in just a minute. But China tells citizens in LA to boost personal security over unrest, and I find this extremely strange, right? Now, this is China's consulate in Los Angeles told its citizens in the area on Monday to strengthen personal security after unrest in America's second biggest city. China's citizens in the region should strengthen personal security measures, stay away from gatherings, crowded area, or places with poor public security, and avoid going out at night or traveling alone, the consulate said in a statement. And it said this should also closely monitor official announcements. And they, again, if you look at the actual consulate thing, it's almost like they put a couple things in quotes. One of them, closely monitor official announcements. And I'm really wondering, like, when you see this, it's like, are they giving a heads up? Like, hey, first of all, be careful. They're trying to grab people out and kick them out. 2, be ready for official announcements, right? Monitor, again, official announcements. Monitor Weibo, monitor WeChat, monitor for the heads up, for the signal, right? That's what folks are looking at it like. And again, I personally think that there's a lot here that could go extremely south. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. Not to mention we have Vipers flying over LA, the military being deployed inside of our borders potentially. I mean, this is some scary stuff. This is civil conflict type stuff. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam A.K. Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. So first off, that China piece also talks about essentially how normally there is consent when you have National Guard deployed in a city. Usually it's with the mayor and the governor. They are usually the ones that are ordering it. In this case, the mayor and the governor, Newsom, are saying, get the heck out of here. They don't want them, right? Of course, there is a political and culture conflict here going on at the same time, and there's a lot going on. So let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So with usually there's consent, right? Well, in this case, it's not. Gavin is saying, we want these guys out of here. You guys need to stop. I mean, and by the way, I do want to bring up another story that was local here that not too many people heard about. And I'm sure some of you saw this because it was big news for a couple of days. What happened here in Seattle, there was a Christian, essentially an event that went on up in Capitol Hill. They applied to be at Pike Place Market, which is a big tourist, old-fashioned market that has been kept the same for 100 years down at the waterfront. They applied to do their event there, give food out to the homeless, give groceries, give haircuts to people. They actually got denied for that permit. The government suggested, hey, we can give you a permit for, Cal Anderson Park. Now, Cal Anderson Park, you might remember, was part of the park that was taken over during the Summer of Love. Not exactly the right area to be, putting this event that essentially they thought was offensive to the community up there. That is the gay neighborhood, right? So, again, that started off, there was, big kind of riotous events up there. And that was just about a week and a half ago. So you get this like kind of momentum going where people are just pissed off. And our governor and our mayor basically came out and said, oh, what a horrible thing. Why did you do your event here? It's like the permit system was essentially suggesting it. They suggested that area. So it was almost like a setup. And now you look at the events of today, and it's pretty nasty. I mean, you've got flashbangs being thrown out at people outside of these Humvees going down the street. You've got, of course, Vipers flying over L.A. It's getting nuts. So, Dex, Gavin said some comments to the prez, and the president kind of clapped back. What happened there?
Well, yeah, certainly. Look, this the initial start of this was not just ICE raid protests, but ICE was doing their job, trying to go in and arrest people in a certain area, and they were stopping the buses, stopping the people, and that's how it escalated. So they were not allowed to do their job that was lawful according to federal law, and that they were supposed to be able to perform it, and the state was not doing anything to support them. So that's why you see the federal side say, well, we're just going to usurp you, and we'll take the National Guard in, and we'll protect our process. So, but yeah, then it came down to, in the aftermath, like, Tom Homan is saying, well, look, anybody that's getting in the way and preventing the law, that's a felony, and, insinuating that they could be arrested. And then, of course, President Trump says, yeah, arrest Gavin. He says Gavin likes the publicity. I think it'd be a great thing, as he said, but I think he's meaning more for the publicity side of it from Gavin. He goes, I like Gavin Newsom. He's a nice guy, but he's grossly incompetent, and everybody knows that. Of course, that sounds like Trump speak very much there. So, but the president of the United States called for the arrest for the sitting governor. Newsom wrote, he said, this is a day I hope would never see in America. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. This line cannot be crossed as a nation. It's an unmistakable step towards authoritarianism. Interesting how you can turn that around in any way you want it. You can either say, hey, a governor who breaks the law shouldn't be arrested, or you can say a governor that gets arrested is who the person doing it is an authoritarian. So the way they twist everything, right?
And my personal view on Newsom is a little bit different. I feel like somebody should take a vote. And just like Schwarzenegger, going from actor to, to governor, I think this should be governor into actor, and he should be playing every 80s movie villain because he just has that vibe. He just has that bad guy villain vibe. But that's just my personal opinion. I know that every opinion differs, right? By the way, thank you, Sweat Ministries. Head up on a swivel, lock and load. Make sure you have a relationship with Jesus. Jesus is coming, and things are going to get worse. Unfortunately, hopefully not, but it's steadily since 2019. Sweating, 2019 was the beginning of something that quite potentially, in my opinion, was most likely the beginning of this whole conflict, right? But that's just my opinion. And then Colby Wilson, pray for our country and pray for the people of California and the troops' safety. Well, I also agree with that too, as far as, nobody wants people to perish. And that is where this could very well go if things don't de-escalate very, very fast. as far as Newsom, this whole thing back and forth. Yeah, that could cause a huge bit of protest too, which we'll talk about here in a second. Dex, go ahead.
Well, the last time a U.S. governor was arrested was Illinois. Remember Rod Blagojevich? I'm sure I'm butchering his name. Blago, as they used to call him. He was arrested on by federal agents on corruption charges. So, yeah, there's no other documented cases of a sitting U.S. governor being arrested. So if they actually do that to Newsom, that would be a pretty big deal.
Jeff B says, Marf and Dex, Executive Order 14152 tells you everything that is about to happen. I believe we covered that one. I will have to look that up here. Again, that is Executive Order 14152. Jeff 7, thank you for being here. We have Nanny Anderson, Bill Rotella. And then the president warns we are going to have troops everywhere after these protests, right? I want to point out that there's a lot being talked about right now, including a map. We're going to get to that here in a second. This is the map of planned events across the country on the 14th. So we'll actually cover that here in just a second. But Donald warns we are going to have troops everywhere, said after touching down Air Force One on New Jersey on Sunday. We are not going to let this happen to our country. In a directive Saturday, invoked a legal provision allowing him to deploy federal service members when there is a rebellion of danger or a rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States. Now, you have ICE going in, whether you agree with that operation or not. It is a federally mandated thing. And now you have the actual state government saying, get the hell out of here. We don't want you here. We don't want you doing this. I mean, this is getting pretty spicy. It says, we are going to have troops everywhere. That is the direct quote. And of course, earlier that day, Trump wrote on Truth Social, great job by the National Guard in Los Angeles after 2 days of violent clashes and unrest. Not to mention a ton of looting. Of course, everybody is seeing the video of the T-Mobile, but there's a lot of little stores, smaller mom and pop shops that got totally wiped out as well. It's the comment here. We have an incompetent governor and Mayor Bass who are, as usual, just look how they handled and now they are very slow permitting disaster. So it will not be tolerated. Also, from now on, the face coverings will not be allowed to be worn at these protests. What do these people have to hide and why? That was another point that people made. That is a comment that actually kind of freaked people out, saying that the face coverings will not be allowed at these events. Dix, did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that. And, of course, they're going to cover their faces, not because of the reasons they did back in the during the CV times, 2020 and whatnot. But obviously, it's to not be seen and to not potentially get arrested.
I don't agree with that either, because when you look at the facial recognition stuff that is going in, we talked about it earlier, that piece from 2023, how New York was basically instilling this facial recognition, or that they were going to start monitoring citizens and stuff like that. At some point, we might have to put on facial coverings, right? Everybody.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the reason why. I mean, everybody understood why in 2020, right? There was an excuse where they gave them all a pass. Now there's this question on should they be allowed to, right? And I guess that's why it's coming up. Obviously, we've even seen some people, was it Loomer or somebody was saying call in Palantir and let them unleash the systems on these people, which is basically saying let's facially recognize everybody. I don't know that that's a good idea.
Which
either.
the mask covering the bottom half, it doesn't matter. The AI will get you even with your eyes. They can do it. They can do it with covering on or not. But again, that was one part that I stepped back and I said, well, okay. Yeah, things like this, you have to look and you go, okay, you agree with it when it's silencing your enemy. But what about when it comes around and it's silencing you, right? If you can't wear face coverings, say in the future they say you're just not allowed to wear face coverings in the United States. Well, just like being attached to the internet, like, oh, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, you have nothing to hide. Attaching your social and everything you are to every single person who accesses the internet. That was a stupid idea. And basically, there's no whistleblower protections. There's none of this. Well, the same thing goes with facial recognition and all of that. It's like, there's some things where I step back and go, well, hold on here. Because of this event, there might be other things that come in later, and people have to pay attention to that as well. Thank your mods. Make sure to drop an M in the chat for them as well. Anthony, man, guest is trash. There was traffic jam. Civilians were taunted. Since 1871, D.C. is a corporation, and Newsom wasn't an actor. He'd arrest every Fed. Yeah, well, again, everything as far as the U.S. being a corporation, I agree there. And I'm glad I live in the boonies. Stay safe, everyone. Thanks, Marf and Dex. Snow, Leo. Yeah, and I'm hoping that all my friends in California, including on Leah, I hope things don't spread out, and I hope all of you guys are safe. All right, and then I almost said facial recognition. All right. Let's, again, before we go on, I do want to remind you guys, make sure to go over and check out EMP Shield. This is a device that will protect you against not only EMPs, but a Carrington-level event from the sun. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. In 10 minutes, you can put this in your car, and it will allow your car to run after multiple EMP strikes. That means from an adversary, North Korea, China, Russia, or a Carrington-level event from the sun. It will ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it can fry your car or device. Again, marfooglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use the code MARF. Again, that's marfooglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use the code MARF. $50 off per device, and it stacks on top of Liberty. All right. And then Dex, Chinese aircraft carrier breaches Pacific Island. Oh, no, let's go over this map here first. So this is, with all of the stuff that's going on right now, you've got this map by a group called No Kings, right? This is a group that says on June 14th, we rise up. This is something that a lot of people are going to be sharing over social media. People are already talking about this. I'm sure over the next couple days, this is going to get bigger and bigger. You're going to see this all over TikTok. You're going to see this all over X. You're going to see this on the local news. If you go and click on this map, there's an event almost everywhere. Again, almost everywhere you can think of. I mean, this first one is at Lopez Island. If you are in Washington and know Lopez Island, well, it's not exactly a metropolis, right? I wonder if there's going to be one on, what do you call it, in Orcas Island, where 5,000 people live, right? There's 5 cops to the whole island, I think. So, yeah, I wonder if there's going to be something like that there. If so, if they were outnumbered, geez. Dex, this is what people are really starting to look at and go, so if you have something like this, what would the response be? And this map looks like, yeah, you would have troops everywhere. If everywhere ends up like LA, then you have U.S. troops, military deployed all across our country, and this is a perfect setup for something else. Is there something really going on underneath this? And again, going into the fact that a lot of people think that there's agitators or people that are kind of getting this going, is this actually a way to bring in, troops into the United States because something else is about to happen?
Right. This group, I mean, look, I don't know anything about this group other than the website that we just, we started looking at because it's being passed around. But that's a large amount of organization that's been created. That doesn't, it's not just somebody in their basement doing that. That's, it takes money, it takes time. And if you click on the sponsors at the top, it's a laundry list of people sponsoring. So yeah, I don't know if this is the ultimate organizer. Of course, they always, when they put these together, they say, well, we're doing everything peacefully. And of course, the non-peaceful people tend to show up and take it to the next level. I'm sure there's always people in there that want to be peaceful, and there's plenty of people in there that don't. So, but that sponsor level at the top, the list of sponsors, it's pretty long.
What is Blue Sky? Is that like the other side's answer to X or something? I've never heard of Blue Sky. It was one of the first.
It's the social media they started. The X, when Elon took over X, they started Blue Sky.
Oh gosh, I've never even heard of it, and that's crazy. I've literally never ever heard of it. Okay, and Salty Cajun, thank you for joining the fam. I appreciate thank you for joining as a member. I appreciate that. All right, and then Chinese aircraft carrier breaches Pacific Island defense line. The timing of all of this, if you actually look at this, it's kind of odd, especially when you have things like this and stuff moving around. A Chinese Navy aircraft carrier has breached a second Pacific Island defense line that is intended to keep the East Asian Powers Force at a distance. Like I said with this first piece here, it's like, look at this, and man, I hope that this is nowhere close to like anything I'm even theorizing. But if you see them say basically closely monitor official announcements, do you think that they are worried about them monitoring like, the news? They would say monitor your local news stations. They're saying closely monitor official announcements. That looks to me like they're saying monitor Chinese announcements, monitor the consulate's announcements, monitor our announcements. This could be something like they were told 2 years ago. When we say closely monitor official announcements, that means it's about go time. Again, something like that. And then at the same time, Dex, we have aircraft carrier breaching the Pacific Island defense line. That's kind of strange, don't you think?
Yeah, this is, they established the 3-island chain across the Pacific Ocean. The first closest to China is formed by the U.S. allies and partners, Japan, Taiwan, and Philippines. That's sort of the one we always talk about, and they don't typically go past that. But the second one is like Guam. America's westernmost territory stretches from Japan's and to New Guinea to north of Australia, and that one links the Alaska Aleutian Islands. And it's sort of like this other line that we sort of consider, and they've never been that far out, and now they are. Now they have reached that far out with their aircraft carrier. So it's so
they're here. They're here,
yeah.
Guys. This is China way over here. They're way past this. They have passed the Guam, the Triple Island line. They're way out here with their carrier. This is America right here. They're in the middle. Think about what this could mean. This is why we've told you for years to prep. And again, people say in a week when nothing happens, oh, nothing happened. I sure hope so, and I'm praying that it doesn't. But do you see what this looks like? Do you see the pattern I'm seeing? Because I'm pretty sure none of you are blind. I mean, Dex, doesn't that kind of... I'll just say it out loud. Doesn't it look like... What if there's more ships that we don't know about passing that line? What if they're spread out and they're headed this way?
Yeah, I mean, and this is not just a single ship. It's going to be a group, right?
Yeah, it's a strike group.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's creepy. And then U.S. believes Russia response in Ukraine. Drone attacks not over yet. Expects multi-pronged strike. Dex, do you want to go over that?
Well, this kind of goes to my point. Like, what can they do? Like, what do they have left to do? And they talked about payback for losing all those critical jets that they have. And what was the response? And it's like their biggest choices are ones they really can't do, like strike NATO, drop a nuke, do something else in Europe, and none of that makes any sense. Because that just seems that's a totally different ballgame. So I guess they're just going to continue to strike Ukraine, which is what they've been doing the whole time, and they'll just continue to do it. And I guess that's what they're coming out with, saying, "Hey, by the way, that launch that everybody talked about 2 days ago, it's not, or 3 days ago, that's not the launch. There'll be more, because we think there's going to be a lot more because they just can't come up with more to make up for the loss."
I think that they're planning their own event, just like it took a year and a half to get the Operation Spiderweb going. I bet you Russia has something that's way bigger in hand, and we're probably going to see it. I think we might see it closer to when we go to war with China and to everybody else, and Japan and Australia, and everybody jumps in the Trilateral Alliance, and then NATO goes to war with Russia. That's what I think that they're all waiting to coordinate. And Iran and Israel, Venezuela and Guyana, North Korea and South Korea. It's all going to pop off at the same time. And then explosion and fire hit Singapore container ship off the southern Indian coast. Pretty strange. Again, when you listen to some of the forums and things going on about this, some say that this was not an accident, right? Says an explosion and subsequent fire were reported on board a Singapore-flagged container ships off the coast of Kerala in southern India on Monday, a spokesperson for the Indian Coast Guard said. Of the 22 crew members on board, 18 abandoned the vessels with assistance from the Indian Navy and Coast Guard, while 4 are missing. One of the rescue crew members sustained serious injuries. 2 of the 4 missing are nationals of Taiwan. 1 is from Indonesia and 1 from Myanmar. Gosh, that's a list of countries, right? And then the Navy and Coast Guard have launched a search operation for the missing, aided by Dornier aircraft. The Navy uses Dornier aircraft primarily for maritime surveillance, search, and rescue operations. The vessel is presently adrift. Firefighting efforts have commenced and bring the situation under control, saving lives of the crew in distress. Firefighting and mitigating environment hazards remaining priority for the Coast Guard. So if there's anything in those containers that could be flammable, it's something that's, again, that became their priority. It's an 890-foot vessel. It's so crazy how big those container ships are. Gosh, how big is the biggest cruise ship? Jeez, that's 900 feet. That's 300 feet higher or longer than the Space Needle is tall. That's insane. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, like, we hear from time to time about electric cars catching on fire and then, subsequently having an explosion. It's rare that we hear an explosion that subsequently creates a fire. But then you also have to think about, like, with all of the recent activity of containers being used in military actions, what could be sneaking around on any one of these container ships, whether it be from China or Iran or anybody for that matter, even the U.S. We've all got, they all have this technology, and we saw Ukraine use it just recently to launch, explosive drones. But we know that there's missile container ships and lots of others. So,
and then Dex, Iran, in my opinion, it looks like they're gonna stall even further. Do you want to go over their counter proposal to U.S.?
Well, they're keeping the talks going. So obviously it's in their own best interest to stall this as long as possible. They shut the door, so to speak, by saying Trump's last offer was rude, even though he was giving them, apparently, at least that's what Woodcock said, was giving them the enrichment that they asked for. Then they turned around and said it was rude. There was no enrichment. But they are coming back with a proposal. So this is yet another sign of the continuing conversations, and we've had the commitment from Israel not to strike Iran as long as there are active negotiations going on. So it's in Iran's best interest to keep these negotiations going on until they've got everything deep underground and protected, and they're prepared for the potential conflict and the strike from Israel.
It seems to me like they're waiting for something, but what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Speaking of, thank you for being here, Night Owl, Amin Raw, Frank, Sherry D, Juanita Seguski. We've got, of course, Justin Case was here earlier. I didn't get to say hi to you if you're still here. I also wanted to mention, too, Susie Q thought, I was just going to let you know I could see you. Cody Smith, Seahawks Ruled, Lucian Gray, Dennis Ward, Bailey, Linda Joy Johnson, Wharton Fissel, American Disaster, Joe McElroy. Lots of new names in the fam. So thank you guys for making it here, and thank you for giving us a chance. We're also on an earlier time zone here, so thank you everybody that made it. And then before we move on, make sure to go check out Jace. This is honestly one of the best things that we have as far as affiliates, because this is something that almost everyone here has needed at one time or the other. This is a service that can provide you a kit with all of the most commonly provided or prescribed antibiotics. As far as this kit goes, you are getting it from a board-certified doctor through a quick telehealth appointment from the comfort of your couch. You can do your phone or tablet or computer, And it only takes a few minutes, and then you'll get a kit discreetly sent to your house with all of those antibiotics in it. Again, since you are talking to a board-certified doctor, they have other things that they can throw in there. There's an add-on list like albuterol. If you have an asthmatic in the house, you can go, hey, doc, I've got an asthmatic in the house. I need albuterol. Boom, they throw it in. Again, so make sure to go check it out. There's a list of add-ons. Not everything's on there, but there are some things that honestly are hard to get. So go over there and check it out, marfooglenews.com/Jace, and make sure to use the code MARF. Because if something happens, if there's a cyber event, if somebody uses their built-in hardware that they've snuck into our power grid and turns us off, then it is going to be an absolute disaster. Having things that are as crucial as, of course, food, water, and medicine, I mean, that's the trio right there. So if you don't have any of those three, I would highly recommend working on food and water first, and then get yourself some medicine. marfooglenews.com/Jace, and make sure to use code MARF. You're not only going to save, but you're also going to help our independent channel. We don't have anybody selecting our affiliates. We don't have a multi-channel network. We don't have anybody to protect us. We have you guys. So thank you. And our awesome team of mods, and of course, a whole lot of willpower and crying at night. Moving on, Marine Corps gunship helicopter seen flying over Los Angeles. So this is quite creepy. I'll show you here in just a second. Check this out. So we have, of course, the Viper, and again, I believe this AZH something. Let me get the actual thing here. Let's see here. AH-1Z Viper was seen amid protests against immigration raids. Well, some view this as necessary response to the violence. Others see it as an escalation with legal concern raised by California officials. Of course, anytime that they can use this to their advantage and say, look, the president is putting Vipers over California. If you look at this thing, I mean, these things are absolutely, in my opinion, these things are beautiful. These things are just savage. They are a marvel of human ingenuity, but they are also scary as hell, especially when they're flying over your city. This is something, straight out of Leave the World Behind or How It Ends. It's like you see this flying by a window that close. I mean, imagine the people in the offices right next to it. I can imagine this because I saw it up close. I saw at least Blackhawks and Chinooks and other helicopters up close downtown Seattle when they were drilling for events just like this in Seattle. I got high quality video on my DSLR of a helicopter that was flying about 4 stories off the ground, way under. And everybody says, "Oh, that's illegal." I tell you what, the flight radar people that were watching when I was streaming said, absolutely. These guys were going so low, it was below the tops of the building between small spaces. And that's exactly what they probably got clearance for, because that's the kind of thing you'll have to do in a conflict. They were drilling for this about 4 years ago, something like that. And that was such a crazy night because there were people on their decks, and it looked, I'm sure that it was deceiving because of the depth perceptive, but it looked like these blades could cut somebody off their freaking balcony. So imagine when you see these things flying by, it is incredibly freaky. Nathan Messner says, "Hey Marf, I hope you read this. I live here in LA and travel downtown every day, and that Cobra is always flying downtown. At least twice or more a month I see him flying." So they have to get special permits to go through the city like that. And you very well may be right. So again, if you can back that up, that would be great. If there's a base nearby or something, they could do drills. That would be very, very, that would definitely calm a lot of people. But again, having a Viper fly between buildings like that, there would be videos be uploaded every single month if that was the case, and we would have people send these to us every single month. So I'm not saying that you're not telling the truth, but I would highly ask you to back that up. Yeah. So, because again, we track all these videos. We get tons and tons of submissions to our website. We get tons of stuff. And if there are Vipers flying over LA, then people notice. I'd highly recommend watching that video because they are swerving in between buildings. If they do a drill or something like that, I do remember the last time that even a single kind of gunship went through LA. It was big news and they covered it a lot. That was when they landed down on buildings, and they landed down on the tops of buildings. So yeah, if you have any kind of source to that, I would love to put it up, and I'll put a correction. All right, and then Dex, as far as do you remember the last drills that went through in California when they were spraying it with sanitizer and stuff like that? That was kind of during CV, right?
Yeah, decontamination and other exercises, and they were or it looked like they were escorting or trying to get high profiles out in the drill. So yeah, it was kind of crazy. But when you see those helicopter actions like that in LA, you think about the fact that China has been sort of labeled as a potential threat to taking California or parts of it, especially with the Pearl Harbor style event that they've talked about in one of the bases there. And then you've got all of the purchasing of land around all of the military sites from China. You've got the warnings that you put up earlier from China to the people. Yeah, you put it all together. And oh, by the way, they just got caught smuggling in a bio type weapon that could have been used against agriculture. So yeah, lots of things that are happening in the last few weeks, and you put it all together. It's very eye-opening. Makes you wonder how you can connect all these dots, especially when you start thinking about the funding and the money that goes into the people that have come through the border crossings that have, created some of the challenges that they're seeing and they're protesting now. The fact that they're the ones out in the streets. We know massive numbers have come across from China as well through there too.
So, by the way, after looking at several different sites, it says that Black Hawk helicopters have been flying all the time down there at night, which is actually really strange and really, really quite alarming in itself. But I don't see anything about Vipers. I mean, these things can launch rockets. Why do they need rockets for something like protests, or even if it's riots? Like, I don't know. I think the Vipers are kind of a step up from some of the other military helicopters, right? I'm not a helicopter expert, but these things are, they go in and destroy entire city blocks. But what do you guys think? Let me know. Let's hear from the military in the group too. What do you guys think? And from LA, if there's a lot of people, if these things have been flying around, why are we not hearing about it? That would even be another story. All right. Chinook, let's see here. And RTube, nice to see you. Jimbo Khan. Call-in shows. No, not right now. And again, it was actually... we'll probably do a whole little video to address that. It's not the end of it. It's not right now. And then we were kind of waiting for everything to get fleshed out with YouTube and, with the president. And let's see here. Is there a star and a bar on it? If not, that might be privately owned and used for promotional purposes. Roddy Hood. I think that would be kind of... It was literally flying over the... what do you call it? Over the protesters. They said that there was even some close call where it was like over 250 feet or something off the ground, or 350 feet. That's really close. I mean, I have my DJI drone under that, or above that. Chad, Christian Erickson, the Taliban sold that to the cartels. That's a cartel heli. I sure hope not. And then Viper aka Super Cobra, 2 engines. Wow. Yeah. So, by the way, if you look up the cost it costs to run one of those, if they're flying that every month, do you know how much money the California taxpayers are paying for that to just do joyrides? That has, jet engine things on the back, doesn't it? Gosh. Crazy amount of money to fly that thing. All right, you guys. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. And again, make sure to join us tomorrow. We're going to be covering the rest of the next 24 hours. So make sure to follow us and make sure to go over and check out our full list of bibliography over on our website. You can go there and you'll find every single article, tweet, video, picture, document. Again, that is available over on marfooglenews.com. Civil war, unrest to spread nationwide. Go check it out. Again, that is marfooglenews.com / nothing, because you can't do a slash on this one. Anyways, you go over to the website, you'll see that. And then, of course, make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com /friends. You will find that there is a whole list of great mods over there. Of course, you got Bones, 2 Wages, and everybody in between, like Ilea, Chance, Jammer, and of course, Bobby Sue. Thank you so much for modding as well. All right, you guys, have a good night. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. All right, let's see here. And now it is time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.